Hello, everyone. Today, let's talk about something that is really important for us to remind ourselves, particularly because at the beginning of the year, we start off with a lot of energy, and then with time, we start to see our energy dwindling down, and we start to kind of reduce the pressure to deliver, the pressure to meet our goals. And I tell you what, the reason some of us experience those is because of thought errors. And so I would like for us to have a conversation about the word thought errors. What are thought errors? Thought errors are faulty thinking patterns or beliefs that are self-defeating. So two aspects about thought errors are, they're faulty, and then they are obviously they're patterns, and they're self-defeating. Self-defeating because they always tend to go to the negative. They always will look at the negative and ignore all the positives. And sometimes thought errors also ignore the reality, or they do not put into perspective the reality. They just believe what their defaults are, and they forget everything else. We all may have thought patterns that are faulty, or belief systems that are faulty, or they are considered errors, so to speak. The scientists or the researchers call them cognitive distortions. The cognitive distortions because they impact how we perceive things, how we learn, how we grow, and how we program our minds. And that is why, to remove the thought errors requires a lot of reprogramming of the mind. So, examples of thought patterns, just to bring things in perspective, is, for example, when you see someone online and you decide to call them or send them a message, say it's via WhatsApp, and they don't respond right away, or immediately send a message, you see them go offline, and you imagine they did that because they saw your message and they don't like you, or they don't care about responding to you in time, and so you decide to be angry at them, and you tell yourself that if they call you back, you won't pick up, or you just make it look like it's about you. That is what is called personalization. Where you make everything around you. You think that people, don't pick up the phone because of you, because they don't like you. You make it look like people don't come to your parties, or they don't visit you because of you. You don't ever imagine that people are busy, or people, are trying to, kind of just stay shut in, or people are busy, or they're experiencing other things in their lives, and they're just needing your help and your prayers also. You make it all about yourself. That's a thought error. Or sometimes it could be, the way we perceive things. It's either in extremes, it's either obsolete, all or none. Black and white, and nothing in between. All or none, where it is either people are over successful, here, or people are failures. You never imagine that you can be in the middle, where you are not a failure, but you're not all successful quite yet, but you are on a journey. And so you imagine that if you are a failure, then you remain a failure forever. And if you're successful, then you imagine that you can never fail, and when you are successful and you ever fail, then you think, oh my goodness, the sky is falling, right? Or when you're a failure, sometimes, when you consider yourself a failure, then you tell yourself, I can never even try. Why should I try when I know I'm not gonna make it? Sometimes a lot of people, when you're poor, for example, you're born from a poor family, and you imagine that that is your fate for life, and that is how your generation should look always. You never try to get out of that. You never try to improve your life, and so you never attempt anything. You've met poverty, your comfortable zone, and so you are not ready to go through any discomfort that will bring about a new change, a new growth in your life. That is a thought error. When you find yourself stuck in your way, and always thinking along those extremes, and nothing in between, you're afraid of the journey, you either are on the one side or the other side, then you have a thought error, and you need to reprogram your mind. Another example is overgeneralization, and sometimes we experience that when you, for example, are starting a business. You start a business, you invest money in, you lose the money, or the business doesn't pick up, or something happens that makes your business be shut down. Say it was COVID season and your business was shut down, and then you decide, using that experience, to tell yourself that you're never going to be a business person, that you're not good at business. You cannot use one incident to make judgment about who you are, how you can do in the future. One incident does not shape all the incidences in the future. It is the same thing with people that have, like in school. If you ever failed a math test and then told yourself you're not good in math because of one incident about one math test. Really, one math test cannot be judgment of everything about your possibility of being a strong math person, or doing well in math, or having a career in math. Because there are things that impact you. It could be an incident that was impacted by many factors. Maybe you didn't get time to study for it. Maybe that test was just simply really, really difficult, that particular one. Or maybe your teacher was not, was not encouraging at that time. But if you got in a different environment and were taught the same thing, you probably would do well. So when you make judgment and you build those thought errors in your minds based on one episode or one incident, then that is a thought error that needs to be reprogrammed in your mind, because it's a cognitive distortion. There are times when we have these thought errors about God because we have experienced what we call spiritual abuse or religious abuse. If you have experienced any incident where you were in a religious setup, or in a church, or in a group, where the dogma and the doctrines were oppressive, and where the leaders used their position to control or overrule and make you feel like you can never make decisions, or make you believe a certain way, to the point where you found your own rights being stripped away, or you being taken advantage of, or being manipulated. You cannot use that to generalize and say there is no God, or God doesn't exist, because of the experience you had. Abuse based on one environment does not make it look like everything else around this world is abusive. It's the same thing with if you are in a physical abuse situation, or in a marriage that is abusive. You cannot use that experience of abuse in marriage to decide that all marriages can never work. Or if you're abused by a man or a woman, you can never use that to generalize and say all men are abusive or all women are abusive. That is overgeneralization. But that happens because sometimes we find ourselves creating those thought errors that have had a negative impact on our lives. They always make us defeated. We cannot move on. We cannot progress into, the things that God has intended for us. Thought errors can really dampen your life. You wake up, you have these high expectations, you have these goals, and you're excited, and next thing you start running things around your mind, and those thinking patterns creep in, and they start telling yourself you cannot do it, you cannot amount to anything, you cannot make it, you are lying to yourself. And so you sit back, you down all your tools, and you sit back and you tell yourself there's no point of even trying. And when you come to that point, then it is time to start to think about, how do I reprogram my mind? How do I reprogram my mind? You have to come to a meeting with yourself and start to dig out the things that you have believed that about yourself that are not true. Sometimes it is, thought errors can come in when you're on stage, and you imagine that you're a mind reader, and so you look at everybody in the audience and you imagine that they think you don't know what you're doing. They don't think you're smart enough. They don't think you're courageous enough. They don't think you're gonna do well. And so you start running these things in your mind about what you think they're thinking about you. But really, at the end of the day, it is you yourself thinking about these things. It is not the people thinking about these things about you. If they were thinking these things about you, then they would not even give you an audience in the first place. So you find yourself telling yourself that, and then you crush yourself. You humiliate yourself, and you imagine that it's the people that have humiliated you. Sometimes we have those things that are going on in our minds that really dampen our thought process. They make us not move forward. They make us not be able to break camp and move forward. And sometimes it's even with money. A lot of us, we have defeating mindsets around money, and we always believe that we can never make this, a lot of money, or we are afraid of money, or we think money is evil in itself, or we think prosperity is a bad thing. And so you would rather remain poor than prosper. And when you tell yourself that, you tell yourself money is bad, prosperity is evil, those that are rich are not going to heaven, you are literally defeating yourself by telling yourself those things. And so you will never become that. You'll never become the thing that you never believe about yourself. You are just as good as what you think about yourself. I always talk about where the mind goes, we go. However far our mind go, that is how we can go. And that is why it's important to start to reprogram your mind and do an inventory of your mind and your heart, and think about what are the things in there that you believed about yourself. What are the things you believed about who you are? What are the thought errors you have about people? What are the thought errors you have about family, about business, about the limits or the no limits, limitless life that you can ever experience? I pray that, as you start this year, that you will tackle those thought errors in your life so that you can progress with the goals that you have, with the vision that you have. Keep pressing forward. You have what it takes. And as long as you're aligned with God in the things you're doing, God is going to shower his blessings over your life. Should you ever need, coaching, or should you ever need someone to just help you unstuck from the areas, where you're feeling stuck, or things that you're struggling with, or you just want someone to journey with you as you reprogram your mind around the thought errors, you can always reach out to me. I'm a phone call away. You can call me via, messenger. You can reach out to me, inbox me via this page, and let's have a conversation together. I love, 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 love to help people. I love to journey with people because I have seen the value of being helped myself. And I do know that we can reprogram our minds. We can be the change we want. God bless you so much. Love you. Have a progressive year. Amen.